There's definitely some gray areas that are involved in this as far as legal and the potential use of some of this as evidence in criminal proceedings.
Yes, you heard that right. There's a chance that EDP might walk after all. Now, if you are surprised about this, I wonder how. I mean, let's start with the group itself, the Predator Poachers, or even the, what is it called, the creep catching, or whatever the fuck is it. You would think that if you're gonna do something about, you know, child predators, you wouldn't have dirt on yourself. Unfortunately, that bearded guy, at the very least, full on fucking racist. We're not talking about just a few edgy jokes. He went over, there's the edge, and he went over that. That shit is... Starting with that is a kind of a problem. Now, the most important part here is to describe how they conducted this investigation. Now, let's have some benchmarking here, alright? Let's have some reference. Remember To Catch a Predator from Chris Hansen on NBC Dateline? It is so fucking good that even I, a Portuguese guy, remembers the whole fucking thing of NBC Dateline, everything. Now, I'm a fan of the show, but there is a reason why it got cancelled. And even though this might be very hard for people to accept, the show was somewhat unethical. Let's start with a group that is comparable to Predator Poachers, Perverted Justice. Their involvement meant that every single man arrested in one of the sting operations in Texas were to be released. And that happened. The DA actually dropped all the cases because of amateur involvement. Now, this actually is not crazy, people. Court of public opinion is one thing, but court of actual law? There's a lot of things that you have to draw, you know, there's good lawyers that have to bring some good evidence, and some evidence will be tainted, obviously, by amateur interference. Those have to be called out. Now, people, I understand, it's pretty clear what he is. But let's start with the evidence, shall we? So the first thing that they say is...
Same 13-year-old account messaged him as a fan saying, hey, I love your YouTube. He's like, oh, thanks. And we just liked his comment. That's it. And then 2 days later, he messages us, like, initiating conversation.
No, let me correct you on that. The decoy itself actually approached first. It wasn't in a comment section, then EDP took to the private conversation. You literally approached him. Remember in the Catch a Predator, even Perverted Justice, at the very least they knew that they would have to sit around in chat rooms and then be engaged first so that entrapment wouldn't occur. And no, entrapment doesn't only happen to officers and anything like that. If you are civilian, you can entrap someone, and all the evidence that come from that will be dismissed because you had an intentional purpose to send someone to jail, which is extremely suspicious behavior, I'll admit. A point where even Moist Critical, that has never had any fucking contact or ever talked about EDP, said that, yeah, monetization is an issue on this fucking case.
I'm sorry to interrupt again. Another thing, the reason this video took so long for them to put out is because he wanted to wait for it to get full monetization. So that's why he kept hyping it up, and the reason why he kept pushing it back, because it wouldn't get full ads on it. So this guy's kind of a real piece of shit, if I'm being honest.
Then thirdly, the lack of police presence. So these guys did an investigation on their own and then expected the police to respond in 50 seconds and to take their evidence as if it was like a direct assault on the street or something, as if the screenshots couldn't have been fabricated or that they don't seem like entrapment whatsoever. If the police took that shit seriously on the spot with every single case that we see on YouTube and shit like that, everyone would be in jail. Because at the very least 2 or 3 days. Because if you think that those evidence should land someone in jail immediately, goddamn, man, that's not even a police state, that's a fucking nightmare. So those are words of 3 civilians and some evidence that hasn't been studied by the court yet. How well do you think the police would take that? Going back to TCAP, or To Catch a Predator, I remember very well when they emphasized that the police would actually run their own parallel investigation, meaning that they would share evidence, sure, but the police will build their own case as NBC was building their case. So as soon as the guy walked out of the door, they could arrest him. And again, the show ended up getting cancelled, but there was a few cases that were successful. Even with amateur interference, at the very least the police had a case that they could rely on, which is not the case. So many cases, dude. And then you have this guy that I absolutely had no idea what the fuck he was doing in the video. He has no charisma, let me just say that. No charisma to be in that position whatsoever. As you see in the comments, he looks like that little brother that tries to sound smart or something. I ended up just laughing my ass off on stream with this guy.
When you say loneliness, like we've heard that millions of times, right?
Right.
Trust me, this is not our first time doing this.
Oh shit, like let him know you're a veteran already, man. No bullshit goes past this boy. Don't even come with this cupcake story, man. You already heard that shit 100 times before. And it was never a cupcake.
We're gonna let you explain now, okay? Because we want to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm a fan of you, he's a fan of you, he's a fan of you.
Honestly, I'm not a fan. But...
This man has stopped talking. Yes, that's a shameless plug. But then he also has that like God complex, you know?
I have arrests in Los Angeles. I have arrests in like Temecula, Riverside area. And then I have arrests in Virginia.
Oh yeah, sure you did. Let me dispute the claims right there. First and foremost, that's really weird. You didn't try to monetize all of those 300. Secondly, you didn't arrest jack shit. You didn't result in any fucking arrest. The police had to execute their own investigation, right? And again, I would dispute this because the way that you guys did any of this, you didn't even know that the police, like, you expected the police to arrive in 50 seconds.
I don't know, but
why are they taking so...
Phone call was so terrible. Like the poor desk officer was like having a hard time hearing what you were saying through that fucking wind.
God, it's in Bakersfield.
Right? And you were like, oh God, Bakersfield. Dude, they're not gonna respond to that shit with sirens. So I'm sorry, I feel like these guys have so little contact with actual police work that I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to be a little bit skeptical here. But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully EDP will get the help that he needs and, you know, serve the punishment that we set for this alteration. Like, it's a very severe crime. We're all laughing and shit like that, but this is quite bad. So I hope you enjoyed and see you next time.